Welcome to another episode of the Bill Chun Show. I thought I would change it up a little bit today. Instead of having a guest, an immigrant, American, I thought I would talk about my favorite project thus far, Doc and Doula. So I will have my better half, Kaylee Daigle, joining me in a little bit. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how does one become a physician in this country, and talk to you a little bit about my beginning in Boston, starting 1989. So in this country, to become a physician, you need 4 years of undergraduate. I received my education from Annapolis, United States Naval Academy, and Wright State University. And then I went to Columbus, Ohio State University College of Medicine. And then I came to Boston for training. Some programs, they condense undergraduate and medical school into 6 or 7. I actually think that those condensed programs are too much of stress for a younger generation, because how does one know he or she wants to become a physician at that early age? So personally, I think it's too much stress. Anyhow, that is the traditional route. And then sometime in your 4th year in your medical school, you figure out what residency you want to apply to in what specialty. And what happens is you pick a particular specialty, and then you pick few programs around the country, and you'll have a list, and each residency program will have a list, and then there's a match. Such match day happens May of every year. Lucky for me, I matched at Boston City Hospital. When I saw those initials, BCH, that says Bill Chun's Hospital. I gotta go there. No, actually, I was fortunate enough to do an externship in '89 winter. I spent a month in the ambulatory care center at old Boston City Hospital. Boston City Hospital became Boston Medical Center in '93, '94. It is part of BU program now. But in '89, it was BCH. And I spent a month with an attending named Adel Hamid. Amazing Egyptian OBGYN. Heavy accent. But it was the way he treated his patients. Every one of his patients. Boston City Hospital being in downtown Boston, inner city, our patients were, many of them, Black Americans, immigrants from Haiti and other parts around the world. But every one of his patients, the way he treated each patient, you could tell how much he cared. By the end of the first day of my externship, I knew I wanted to come to Boston City Hospital. So they gave me a motivation to work extra hard. I think I got there before anyone, and I left after everyone had left, because I was going to come to Boston City Hospital. And I did. 1990 to 1994. First of all, for many of you younger generation, can you imagine a life without cell phone? I mentioned that because I started my training before cell phone. That's right. We carried audible beeper. A year later, it became digital beeper. And it wasn't until the end of my residency in '94 I actually got a cell phone. So I mentioned that because I was extremely fortunate to be trained during this era where there was definitely transition happening. Aside from not having a cell phone, the world of gynecology was changing. When I was a resident, we opened everyone, meaning we made an incision horizontally or vertically to remove the uterus, fallopian tubes, rupture ectopic, you name it, that's how we took care of it. Towards the end of my residency, we started laparoscopy. Many of you may be familiar with this procedure where small incision is made, and through it, we insert long, pencil-thick rod with a camera attached, and usually 2 or 3, maybe 4 incisions, and then that's how we do surgery. But during the beginning of my career, that wasn't part of my training. Imagine Wright brothers flying that plane for the first time at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Imagine same brothers who invented that plane now flying in Learjet. That's how far I've come in past 30 years in the world of gynecology. In the world of obstetrics, not so much. Things really haven't changed. When I was a resident at Boston City Hospital, our cesarean section rate was 13%, 1-3. Can you imagine? 13%? Many hospitals in Boston, at least 2.5 times dead rate. Aside from cesarean section rate, not much has changed. We are still not very good at stopping preterm labor. We are still not very good at starting a labor. What has gotten better are tests to check for chromosome abnormalities, other genetic abnormalities, and ultrasounds have gotten better. Otherwise, main part of obstetrics really hasn't changed. And during my time as a resident, there was no limitation in terms of number of hours we worked. We routinely worked 100 hours a week. You know, there are only 168 hours a week, and we work 100 hours a week. Sometime in the 90s, new guideline came so that residents are limited to 80 hours a week, which is great, but you know what? I benefited from 4 years of brutal training where I learned my trade. After that, I spent my years in Boston, north of Boston, greater Boston, working in different hospitals. So why do I think this is a great country? Imagine my mother as a teenager had me at home without any prenatal care, without an attendant. And I was extremely lucky to survive that first entrance in early 60s. From that, many years later, now my passion, my profession, my purpose, women's health. In Boston, of all the places. Massachusetts, we have more physicians per capita than any other state. And here, I have a busy little practice where I am fortunate enough to look after amazing patients. So this kind of leads me to talking about doc and doula. For any of you who doesn't know the word or definition of doula, I think most of you know, a lay person whose purpose is to make that labor and delivery period positive experience and beyond. Doc and doula, I thought it was interesting combination. And soon I'm going to have Kaylee Daigle, my better half, coming on, joining me, talking about this concept, which started about a year ago. So why did I think there was a need for doc and doula? So let's talk about healthcare in this country. When you talk about healthcare, few components. You need insurance companies, mostly private, some government program like Medicaid, Medicare. There is payer. You need facility, hospitals, birthing centers, doctor's offices. And you need providers, OBGYNs, family practitioners, nurse midwives, nurse practitioners, physician assistants. And then there's you, the public. The problem is, if I look back past 30 years, in some ways, things have gotten better, but in many ways, it has not. So the only thing I figure that I could do is to really empower you, the public, give you that information and tools to make better decisions. Not only about what type of provider and where, but really help you understand what women's health and pregnancy is all about so that you can be a part of that decision-making process. What I'm saying is, in many ways, there's a huge room for an improvement when it comes to women's health, particularly in this area. I could have just kept quiet, do my thing, run my little practice. Heck, I make a good living. I'm comfortable. My kids are fine. Why did I start this? Which, by the way, I think caused some headaches for others. But overall, I feel like some providers have actually stepped up and changed their behavior and make things better because it's all about competition, because healthcare is business. It's business like everything else. But unlike any other business, you, the consumer, when it comes to healthcare, you know what? You get beat up. You get manhandled. I don't know why. Imagine if you're talking about my Chinese restaurant, King Chun Chinese restaurant, right? My food is very average. You make a reservation, you show up, and I say, oh, I'm sorry, we have to reschedule. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not on the list. I deliver food, and you only get half of what you ordered. You get billed twice, 3 times what you ordered. But you know what? I'm not going to change because people show up. I'm busy. Same thing with healthcare. Many of you complain about your care, but you don't do anything. Why not? Because it's convenient, because it's right down the street, 5 minutes versus 30 minutes? Well, maybe then you deserve that care. Doc and Doula is a community of healthcare experts whose job is to empower you with information and knowledge so you can make better choice and enjoy that process. Birth of your little one, which, by the way, is the most amazing life experience. Better than anything, better than your wedding, better than any birthday. It's better than anything. And I want you to experience that in such a way that it should mean something. All positive, nothing negative. Yeah, what do I think? I think all of you need a doula. You need a doula during pregnancy, you need a doula during labor and delivery, and you need a doula afterwards, postpartum. When I was covering for other doctors, I see these patients after C-section scheduled for 6 weeks visit. I said, what? 6 weeks? The patient just had an incision across the belly. Should we see her 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks maybe, but 6 weeks? What about postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression? Who's going to address that? That's why you have doc and doula. We have amazing, not only childbirth educators, lactation specialists, newborn teachers, but we have pelvic floor experts. We have postpartum psychotherapy experts, nutritionists, you name it, we have it. Chiropractor. One source. I don't know of any other group in the area where we have so many positive people wanting to help you when it comes to pregnancy-related matters. So Doc and Doula, we are just growing. And this is my main project where I have been very fortunate to be part of amazing people like Kaylee Daigle. See, when it comes to Kaylee Daigle, yeah, she's an amazing childbirth educator. She's great at teaching hypnobirthing and whatnot. But you know what else? She's genuine. She's nice. She is what she says she is. I've seen her as a patient. I've seen her as a colleague. So whenever it comes to any classes or any referrals, I always look for Kaylee. And we have other Kayleys in our group. And if you are enjoying our Facebook, great. Share this information with others. And tell us what we are doing right and tell us what we are not doing enough of. With that, let me bring on Kaylee so we can talk about Doc and Doula. I'm going to say hi to Karen Pierce. Karen, thank you so much for all the work you're doing with our 100 Birth Doula project. It's great. So, here comes Kaylee, my better half. Hey.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hold on. It's not you. It's Mike. Mike, I can't hear her. We get there in 1 second. There you go. There you go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yes. There you go. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I am, you know, so excited. And I know I have said this before, but when you joined me to make this Doc and Doula what it is now, it just got to another level. And of course, I would always mention Sarah Kearns,
Hmm.
who is another one of our fabulous team of four. Now, I've known you for a few years now, 5 years maybe,
Yep.
and I think that you being that doula of Doc and Doula, it's perfect. It was a process. It took us some time to get there, but where we are right now, I think we are in the right groove here, making some headways and making a lot of people happy.
I think we have a really good group of people now. You, me, Sarah, and then all the experts are just providing such great information.
I've been really impressed by all of our experts in that
Yeah.
they've been very consistent
Hmm.
with the schedule. And you know what? It's not easy to do these Facebook Lives. It takes an effort. I mean, you got to prepare, you got to do it, and many of us try to improve on what we've done. So it takes an effort. And I like to
Yeah.
think that all of our experts are doing it with one reason in mind, in that they want to help people. And it's interesting in that a lot of our members they're not shy. They will tell us what they think, and yes, and I hope that they're not discouraged by some of my answers, in that I often say there are no studies. There are no studies. I think as a medical expert, I do have to say that there are studies which support, and that there are lack of studies. And unfortunately, because it involves care of at least one person, if lack of studies does not mean it's okay to do it. And yeah,
We're always looking at what the posts are, the advice that's been giving, and making sure, like you said, even if it's not what they want to hear, it's safe and accurate information.
um, the I guess somebody's having issues with audio, but maybe hopefully they can hear it. I think from the beginning, our goal has always been consistent in that we wanted to help people.
Hmm.
It's not just our immediate practice, but greater Boston, New England, and beyond. And we have had some patients and members outside of New England, California, Texas, Midwest, Philadelphia, reaching out to us. And I think that is something that I want to say over and over. You may reach out to us with any questions. We'll either have answers or we'll find them for you. But this idea of having doula is still, people aren't really well informed.
Yeah.
Doulas are not midwives. You could have a midwife and still have a doula. You could have an obstetrician and have a doula. You could have home birth and have a doula. It's
Hmm.
almost like acupuncture. No matter what kind of treatment you get, you can always get an acupuncture. Same thing with a doula. No matter who's going to do the delivery and where, you can have a doula.
Hmm.
And the reason why we started this Doc and Doula is because not only do we believe in this concept of doula, we also want to identify the right doulas for you, right? I
Hmm.
mean, that's fair because not all doulas are created equal.
Nope.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think many of them are great, but some of them are over their head. And it doesn't do patients any favor by working with them. So I think because the biggest obstacle right now when it comes to the word of doula is that there's no standard.
Mhm.
There's DONA, or Doula of North America, that started in 1992. Pro Doula probably is the second biggest, and there are many other doula associations, and it's hard to figure out who's what. In my
Right.
humble opinion, none of them are good enough. by themselves, but if we mix them, I think there's a version that could be really be number one.
Yeah, and I think years of experience to help as well, and kind of I trained with one organization and have done other trainings now and have kind of collected bits and pieces of information from each of these, like you're saying, to kind of get to where I am, to have more of a well-rounded experience. But the doula I was when I first started 4 years ago and the doula I am now are completely different people. So, like you said, there is no standard across the board, which lends to all different types.
One thing I've noticed about our Facebook is, and which is an amazing transformation, it kind of started with issues related to pregnancy, and now we are seeing experts doing postpartum,
Yeah.
sleep experts, pelvic floor, nutrition, acupuncture, chiropractor, others. Because the postpartum period for me, I mean, 9 months is 9 months, it's done. But postpartum transition is so, so crucial. That's the period that us OB providers and others have not paid enough attention. And what I'm seeing on our Facebook is very encouraging.
hmm I think it's so important to give attention to the postpartum period because, like you said, 9 months is 9 months. And I know from experience of being a mother and from working with so many clients that transition from being pregnant to now being parents, pregnancy and birth are the easy part.
Right.
Being a parent and transitioning, becoming a completely different person, and trying to figure out how parts of your old life are going to fit in with your new life, and caring for your child and making all the right decisions can be extremely overwhelming, and having the right support system can make that experience one way or the other, positive or negative. So I love to see that we have these resources for women in postpartum because there's so much information about pregnancy, and there's all the apps about pregnancy, and we think so much and prepare so much for pregnancy, but we don't put that preparation in for postpartum.
Do you feel like because of COVID 19, do you see that many clients or many patients are struggling more with anxiety?
Yeah. And I also think, how could you not? I mean, there's our whole world has changed in so many ways, and you're trying to keep this baby safe and yourself safe and healthy. But we've also lost a lot of our support networks, like family and friends that normally we would be welcoming into our homes. Even just the ability to take your baby out and walk around a store. I know when I was postpartum, like just getting out and being in public did wonders for my mental health. And now, being more confined to home, not being able to have your support network as readily available, I think it's kind of, unfortunately, a normal response to what's going on right now.
I think having Facebook is great, but nothing replaces that one to one relationship
Mm-mm.
with a doula. And this is where I want to talk about our 100 Birth Project because I know finance is an issue with many people during this time. A lot of people are not working, furloughed, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say to all of you, we do have a way of helping you. Instead of spending a lot of money, like 1,600 to 2,000 or more, something between $100 to $400. We want to be able to find you and match you with a doula. And how many doula volunteers do we have? Like 15 or 20, I think.
Yeah, I think we're up somewhere in that range. It's been awesome.
So if you like to speak with one, then Sarah will reach out to you and we start the process by identifying your needs and make sure you are a good candidate. And then we match you with a doula. I mean, Karen Peters, she's been great. I think she has two
Yeah.
candidates already. I
Mm-hmm.
love her enthusiasm. Hi, Karen. You've been
Hey,
with us for a
Karen.
while now. It's great to hear that you are wanting to get better because whether it's being a doula, physician, or anything else in life, nothing replaces experience. And I think with time, you'll be able to provide all that you want to, and you really get the job satisfaction. But having this doula support is here, meaning we are looking to sponsor and support 100 birth, where between $100 $400, and if you're able to pay $100, great. Then $300, which because all the doulas get paid $400, $300 will find that money through GoFundMe page, because I don't think we'll have a hard time coming up with a $30,000. Do you? I don't think so.
No, I think we have such an engaged community that's benefiting so much from, the information that all our experts are providing, and a small amount of giving back will make a huge difference in someone's birth experience. So I think we'll do well. And I love this project so much because one of the great things about having a doula is not only is your experience, your emotional experience improved, but the outcomes, the research has shown better outcomes for people that have that one-on-one continuous support. So we're really providing a great value to these people. And I also love that this program is helping new doulas gain experience, but doing it in a paid way. There's always been this kind of thought in the doula world that when you get started, you should be doing it for free. And I don't think
Nothing is free
there's
in
really
life.
any profession where you should be doing it for free. So us being able to not only pay them an experience by giving them a mentor to help them grow and learn, and then also paying them for this, I think it's win-win for everyone. I think I just really love the whole program.
So I want to kind of walk through this labor and delivery process, because I don't think
Yeah.
people understand,
Hmm.
especially pregnant patients going to large practice. Many of you probably won't see your doctor until sometime in their trimester.
Hmm.
And the chance of you being delivered by your doctor is very, very slim. More likely than not, you'll be delivered by a stranger. That stranger you'll meet for the first time.
Hmm.
And your labor is not over an hour or two. It'll be many hours. It may be a day or two. Guess what? Doctors, midwives, they change their shifts every 12 hours. So if you're there for 3 days, we're talking about possibly 6 different providers. What
Hmm.
else? Nurses change their shifts every 12 hours. So during your labor and delivery, only consistent people are you, your support person, and your doula. So
Yeah, and I think another thing that people don't quite understand is that when you go to have your baby in the hospital, you're not always going to have a medical staff in the room with you. There will be hours that you will not have a doctor or a nurse in there. They come in, they check on you, they do your vitals, ask how you're doing, and then they leave. And it might be an hour or two before you see them again. Unless you call for help, they'll always come. But there's a lot of time where they're not in the room with you. When you have a doula, they're in the room with you the entire time. So as everything's happening, you have continuous support, someone to answer questions right on the spot. And it might be a question that you don't feel like is significant to call the nurse, or maybe it's an emotion or a fear or an anxiety, but having someone there with you to watch your body language, to see how you're feeling and say, this is normal. This is happens all the time. This is something you can do to make whatever feel better. I think that is one of the things that makes a doula really, really valuable to people.
I will say I have seen small number of young fathers doing amazing job. I mean, I
Yeah.
tell them, God, you should change. You should stop being a police officer. You should be a doula because you are so
Yeah.
good at it. But that's a very small number.
Yeah.
And
And I think a
really,
doula is really important for the partner as well. We're not providing any physical support to them, but we're providing emotional support for them. And for someone that has never seen someone in labor, watching your partner who you love go through this experience that is exhausting and painful and overwhelming, it can really be hard for you to watch that. So having a doula there to reassure you that you're doing a good job and that your partner is okay and that your baby's okay, I think is helpful. But yeah, I had a birth recently where the dad was like just a rock star, and it's great to see that because it's not the norm.
and again, there's the labor and delivery part, right? And the postpartum, man. I postpartum, you stay after vaginal delivery for 2 nights and then 4 nights after C-section. Once you
Mm-hmm.
go home, you are on your own. That's just you and your partner and the little one. And your
Mm-hmm.
mood swings, you're bleeding, you're not feeling well, fatigue, breastfeeding. To have someone there to guide you through, or maybe you are lucky because you have a mother-in-law or mother, or sister, somebody, but many of you don't. I know that with the COVID-19, there's a concern for safety, but I think the professional, good doulas are taking all the precaution with a repeated test. And I really believe if we spend the resource into having everyone get a doula, we'll have such, we would save money in the long run.
Yeah.
It would be great if we can get insurance companies to pay for doulas
Yeah.
because it would improve the outcome, which is the purpose of our 100 birth doula project, because we want to see out of 100 birth, not just vaginal versus C-section, but also, bless you, but also postpartum transition, anxiety, depression, breastfeeding rate. There are many data I think 100 patients will provide. And
Yeah.
we are telling you right now, all you have to do is if you're pregnant, expecting, no matter where you deliver, if you are in Greater Boston, New England area, we will help you get a doula
Mm-hmm.
for your upcoming birth.
And the great thing is now with COVID-19, earlier in the year, doulas were restricted, but almost every hospital in this area is now allowing doulas for support currently. Um, but even if that changes again, providing virtual support still gives value and brings value to the families. But as of right now, we're in the hospitals, and it's been going really well.
One thing I want to mention is that our Facebook is monitored 24/7 by 4 of us. So what information is posted are checked, double checked. If there's anything suspicious, anyone trying to solicit any kind of business and whatnot, we delete those posts, or actually they don't get posted. We also remove those members. So,
Mm-hmm.
so far, I don't know of any erroneous or bad quality of information. We really do our homework. So I
Mm-hmm.
think all your members should feel comfortable in that what you read on our Facebook should be considered reliable.
I also think it's worth noting too, aside from a few of the bots that kind of slip through the cracks with comments, our community has been so supportive, so non-judgmental,
Yeah.
and it's really a safe place to come and post your questions, whatever it is, because this isn't a place where there's going to be mom shaming or anything like
No.
that. It's really been a really supportive, wonderful community. Everyone's just been phenomenal.
You may not be able to get hold of your provider, but you can direct message us and we will get that answer you're looking for anytime. Um, Sometimes I look at it in the middle of the night when I'm covering labor and delivery. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning, but I see that all of us are looking at it. And many times, if I have a question, I just text the other three to say, "Hey, what is this? Should we, block this or what?" So I really feel comfortable doing that. And
Hmm.
soon we will be releasing a board of advisors. So advisors from different specialty, from OBGYN, pediatrician, physical therapist, to nutritionist, other therapist, sleep therapist, and come up with ways to promote certain guidelines, things which
Hmm.
I think we need to bring up. Um, and it's from vaccinations to co-sleeping to other issues that we, as experts representing Doc and Doula, we believe in ABC and we stand by that. And the important thing about that is it's not just an OBGYN, it's just not a pediatrician. It's group of us from different background. So that will come out soon. And with docanddoula.com website, which I know I've been saying it's coming, but it's just around the corner. We're getting
Good things
close.
take time.
Yeah, it's coming. So you'll be able to navigate better. And I think So far, for a young community, we have done well and we
Hmm.
have had no major hiccups. Main thing is we've been trying to be consistent. So I really would
Yeah.
love to hear from you what we could do to better. One of the things I like to see is between Kaylee and I, we like to have this Q&A sessions. We're trying to make it happen. We almost had one Monday, but we should do that so that we can answer your questions in timely manner.
Yeah. I think another thing that's so exciting about this group is, you mentioned all the professions that are on that advisory board and our expert panel. Over the last couple of months, that expert panel has grown. We've added so many people from different professions, and the range of content that we're able to deliver is incredible. But we're also always looking to grow that panel and add more. So from members of our community, if there's an expert that we're missing, some profession, something that we're missing, we also want to know that, because if they're out there, we'll find them and we'll get them involved in the group, because it's a great place to be a part of.
I think, and I know we're working on this, I would love to see regular fitness
Yep.
Facebook Live for our members.
It's in the
For,
works.
yeah, for postpartum, during pregnancy, I think that would be amazing, as well as routine yoga stuff. But
Hmm.
um, and another thing that I thought about, and after our conversation today, is I don't want to ignore father figures
Hmm.
because I mean I went through this many years ago, but it's not easy for that to play that role. So
Hmm.
especially after traumatic delivery, I think we have to make sure we acknowledge it, and we have to be able to provide support for men as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they are overlooked or forgotten because they weren't the person physically giving birth, but this is a huge transition for them as well. They've just watched the person that they love go through this huge physical, experience. So you're right. We need to make sure that they have the support they need, the resources they need, and the information they need to help their partner, because in terms of postpartum mood disorders, I think those partners are the first line of defense, the ones that are going to notice that the
Exactly.
soonest and help their partners to get better faster.
If there's one thing I like for us to really address all the time and do better is postpartum depression, anxiety. We really have to identify it sooner than later, and we have to address it, especially right now. That's like
Yeah.
number one on my list.
And I think it's important to educate people of what it entails. Because I know as a new person, I heard postpartum, or not new person, new mother, I heard postpartum depression, and I thought, oh, you're just depressed. I didn't know there were so many other things that could go into that. The anxiety, all the other things. I remember when I had my son, I had no appetite.
Mm,
And that was really weird. And I had no idea that that could be part of postpartum anxiety. And it wasn't until months and months and months later that I identified that I had postpartum anxiety, because I wasn't depressed. I didn't feel depressed. So I think it's important to educate people of, like, what are all the things that can go into a postpartum mood disorder, whether it's depression or anxiety, and knowing what are the options out there for support and for help. It's not something that you have to white knuckle through.
well, I want to thank you for being who you are and being my better half on Doc and Dula.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
I'm
tonight, and
honored.
I'll have you be back another time. Have a good night, and I'll see you shortly.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Good night.
Bye.
So I wanted to change up a little bit tonight. It was very important for me to talk about Doc and Dula because, like I said before, aside from having a medical practice, I really want to be able to affect larger number of people. And being in Greater Boston, after 30 years of doing this, we should do better than what we've been doing. There's a huge room for improvement. And the best way to really address that is to educate the public. And Doc and Doula is all about giving you the tools so that you can make better decisions. So if you're not a member already, please join us. And I look forward to another episode of the Bill Chun Show. I am very excited to bring on my little brother for the next episode. My little brother is an amazing human being, and he's going to join me this Thursday to share with us what his life has been like for the past 50 years. Thank you so much. Until next time.